Hey out there, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the PSVR Chat Show. I am Dave from Davestation VR, your host this week. We've also got a lot of great guests here. First of all, I want to introduce Michał and Damian from Anshar Studios, who are here to talk about the game Telefrag VR. But we've also got a ton of other people here. First of all, we've got AJ or Godcannon from PSVR Underground sitting over there waving at me. He's going to help us ask some questions later on. And then we've also got Jason, the TheLivonator, who's kind of the producer here, and he's got a few questions as well. And then we've also got our artists who helped put this game together, Dorkie the Awkward, Waverly, Noctauto, Grandpa, Velp, and Jason, who I already mentioned, helped out as well. All right, so once again, thank you guys for being here today to talk about Telefrag VR, which is coming out July 19th in, oh yeah, for sure. And in North America and Europe, it's going to be $24.99, right? Yep. And so yeah, like I said, July 19th, so very soon. We've got a ton of questions to ask you guys about this game. But before we get started, we just want to know a little bit more about you and Anshar Studios and your kind of history with all that. So first of all, we should really cover Detached, which is the other PSVR game that you guys have released. Woo! And I know a lot of people, see Godcannon over there. We got big fans in the audience. A lot of people love that locomotion system, and it's totally unique. You know, there's nothing else on PSVR that really hits that button. So just out of curiosity, like what gave you guys the inspiration for Detached or that style of locomotion to really push the limits of what you can do in VR without vomiting?
Maybe I can answer that, yes. Because the main inspiration for Detached was probably the Gravity movie. It was like the point at which we think this will be like a cool idea for VR to have this space locomotion. And we really wanted to just get that feeling of being in zero gravity in there. So it was like our top priority, basically. Yeah.
And you guys nailed that part of it. I mean, that's like the core of why the game is so satisfying, I think. You know, the levels and the challenges and stuff are really well done too, but also just the feeling of...
Yeah, a lot of challenges because we had like a lot of prototypes of Detached before we released it. And a lot of challenges are around this flying in space because we tried some like more manual stuff, or just this like puzzles. But really what was the most fun for us was just flying around and
absolutely.
Yeah, so we just scrapped that and just focused on basically the movement system and fun challenges to involve flying basically in space.
Well, sometimes actually just getting around itself can feel like a puzzle because you don't want to go too fast and hit the wall, because that's super realistic. I mean, if you bump into a wall, you crack you're done.
And especially if you have the sort of simulation sort of control scheme, and it was really unforgiving.
Yeah, it is. But some people love that. I know Godcannon over there is a huge fan of that locomotion style.
Thank you, sir.
I loved it.
Yeah.
All right, so let's talk about you guys a little bit. So, Michał, where did you get started working with Anshar, and what's your background? You're the level designer for this game, Telefrag.
I'm the level designer for Telefrag. Yeah. Before then, I did a bunch of other projects for Anshar Studios. Basically, I'm with the team for close to 5 years now, and
oh, wow. Cool.
Yeah. And Telefrag VR was actually my first foray into like more serious level design in VR spaces. So that was sort of like a big unknown for me, but I definitely had fun. And as you can see, some crazy stuff sort of happened.
No, I mean,
as you recreated it here. That's awesome.
The level design itself is such a huge part of the draw in Telefrag. I mean, most of us here have played it, I think. And you can see this beautiful stage that's designed based on your kind of concepts of, shifted space, and this thing's, upside down over here, and you can teleport and walk upside down. It's really interesting and well done. And there's a lot of intricacy to the levels. So for a first try at a serious thing, you did a great job.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much. And sort of the way we did it was trying to basically get the core idea, which was impossible spaces, and trying just whatever fits. Like, what can we do early on in the first prototype, we had sloped walls that you would walk sort of like
a half
in the
pipe almost or something, or
Yeah,
almost
something
like
like
a
that.
half pipe.
wow,
Yeah,
that sounds fun too.
like the
actually,
very moment in the what's the movie with but the movie about dreams with
Inception.
so in
Nice.
Inception, you had this sort of the moment when they in the dream world step from the ground to the wall and just keep on walking. So that was sort of the concept behind it. But we saw that this wasn't actually the way to go because people kept getting more.
Yeah,
So,
and
I
a
can
lot of
imagine,
people were
yeah.
really a lot of people because we tested it on like different conferences and
yeah, basically free
yeah.
trade shows we did with the prototype.
So the people were really hesitant to move around those spaces. They were like afraid. Oh no, I will go.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah,
I
so
mean,
we
once you
basically
shift someone's
had to-
frame of reference to the world around them, that becomes very unsettling. Like we just now have a game where you can do backflips for the first time, and the first time you do that, it's like, oh, I wasn't prepared for this, you know. So I can see that would be the same kind of thing. So
yeah.
Damian, let's get in a little bit to what your role is. You're the game director for Telefrag VR, and you've also been with Anshar Studios for a little bit. So tell me about over there and how you joined the team and everything.
Yeah, so I joined the Anshar Studios just around the time that Michael did, and it was 5 years ago, basically. Yeah, if I remember correctly. Yeah, so. I joined Anshar to jump into the VR, really, because I started in Anshar as a detached designer. And then we moved from Detached, we just finished the project, and we started prototyping Telefrag with Michael. So yeah, it was really like a fun time to experiment with VR, because for me, as I joined the company, it was just like the first time I ever had any
experience with VR. Like
an experience with VR, basically.
Yeah.
So it was really new to me, and we had to learn a lot during the development of Detached. And then we used that knowledge to basically make Telefrag VR. Yeah.
What's impressive to me is that you had never experienced VR before, and you designed a game that is one of the most intense simulators for, as far as like having, a first timer in there. Like, yeah, I don't know. If somebody's first time in VR, I would be like, be very careful with this one,
There is a theme going on. Like Detached is like super hardcore, sort of a little bit motion sickness inducing, like a little bit is putting in mildly, but
depends on how you play it. Yeah, which scheme you use for the controls.
And with Telefrag, it's like everyone is sort of treading lightly, going like slower, smoother, and we're like, no, just scratch that. We're going close to the wall, really quickly, like arena shooters. Let's do this. Nobody is doing that. Let's see if it happens. Let's see if it works. And if it does,
it's cool.
If
it's got a great feel. It does really evoke those like arena, like Quake and Unreal Tournament and all that stuff that I think everybody loved as a kid, and just a ton of fun to hop online and play with people.
Yeah, and it was really like a top priority to get this sense of dynamic going on of the fast movement, because like with Detached, like I said, we had some problems with motion sickness, but then we just tried to figure out how we can make the game dynamic, fun, and hardcore, but also more approachable to the people that have motion sickness or are prone to motion sickness. Yeah. So we just really like sit down and think hard about that when making Telefrag.
Didn't want to compromise on comfort. Like even with delivering hardcore experiences, I mean, comfort is how you get your players to stay playing the game.
Yeah, and we still wanted hardcore experience because a lot of players that play Detached really liked the idea that finally we can do something really like exciting. And
I was just gonna say, I think if you look at the community on, say, like the PSVR subreddit or just places where you can kind of get a pulse on what people are thinking about, I think their favorite thing is a developer who says, listen guys, if you want it as hardcore as we can make it, that is an option for you. And no forced comfort, it's there if you want it, but people love that stuff. So great job on that.
Yeah, thanks.
All right. So what inspired you guys to choose the kind of like futuristic but ancient, like Roman kind of gladiator style thing for this game? Where did the inspiration for that come from?
Yeah, probably because we started with this duel mode, and it just occurred to us that duels are like the gladiators thing, and the gladiators, it's ancient Rome, so we just get from the dueling to the gladiators and then ancient Rome. Basically, that was the way we were thinking. And
that makes sense. Based on the gameplay itself, kind of go from there, designing
exactly.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And we figured out that this futuristic Rome will be a really fun idea to try.
Basically, when you say it out loud, it's like, okay, you've sort of piqued my interest. What is that? Like ancient Rome in space? What's up with that? And,
well, especially once you see the way it actually looks like the fractured kind of worlds where, some of it's sideways floating over there, and, it's really interesting.
Yeah, we basically went, logic is cool, but on the other hand, ancient Romans in space.
Yeah, why not? All right, so I think I've been hogging up your guys' time long enough. We got a question from Jason in the audience over here, so throw it over to him.
What kind of controller options do you guys have for the games? Like DualShock, moves? Well, actually, with 3D Rudder, we know about, and thank you for the information on that. And I think you guys just mentioned that you were adding the aim. Is that correct?
Yeah, that is correct. So we have DualShock with actually two sort of modes, if you will. One is just with head tracking, so you aim with your head, and the other one is just sort of mapped in 3D space. The DualShock. You have the just announced the aim controller support, and 3D Rudder is also an option that we already included. So I think
and then
also
the moves too, right? Yeah,
obviously, yeah.
We don't know if the aim support will be from the day one, because we just started working on it, to be honest. Because we were thinking about the aim for a long time, but we had like limited resources, so we only managed to start working on it now. But it will be probably in the first patch or maybe day one. We don't know really at this point, but we will get there as soon as possible, basically, with the aim support.
Oh, people will be excited about that, of course. It's
absolutely
always, Does it have aim? Every time. Does it have aim? Yep. Every time. It never fails. That'll make a lot of people happy. Right on, guys.
Well, also the fact that you guys have the DualShock support with head aiming, I feel like that's actually a really good way to play a shooting game. Like it works pretty well, especially with a hyper mobile game like this where you want to run all the time and be hopping around and stuff.
I actually find that the tracked DualShock is sort of a little better than
the head.
But that just comes down to
personal preference.
Yeah, that's why we wanted to include as much options.
Yeah, it's exciting to have aim support because a lot of people have all the peripherals, but a lot of games don't even include DualShock support because they're like, oh, well, you got to play it full on, you got to use the moves, whatever. But it's great to have an option. A lot of people don't have the moves yet or don't have the aim or the rudder or anything. So
basically, with our game, we can use the moves, the DualShock aim, and also this 3D rudder thing. So we also included that.
That's
what we call it too.
Exactly. Exactly. We want it to be as inclusive as possible, so that the only friction that happens is no friction. What am I talking about? Right. No friction at all.
Yeah, there is none.
Get to playing.
Yeah, exactly.
If you have a PS4, you can play it.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah, that's excellent.
And plus VR, basically.
Of course.
And next up, we've got a question from Godcannon over there on the Telefrag bench.
Hey, really thank you guys for joining us today. I'm a huge fan of Detached, like you said, the huge simulation and everything. One of the most experiences I will forever remember in VR for sure. But in regards to Telefrag, so the gameplay is extremely fast, and it reminds me a lot of like Unreal Tournament, Quake, Doom, and even like some of the lesser known ones like Painkiller. Was that like a heavy influence on your game?
So first off, good on you for Painkiller. That's actually one of the Polish-made FPS game, so that's pretty cool. But in terms of our inspiration, yeah, definitely. Like the arena shooter, especially the dual game mode, is what we were after, and that's why sort of you can hopefully feel some of that inside Telefrag. Plus, the name itself, sort of the term was originated in Quake and Doom. It would basically happen when a player would teleport and another player would teleport in the same place. The server side had to basically decide what can we do with the player that was already in there. So you could just either, I don't know, push them away or teleport them back, or you could just frag them. Hence Telefrag, and we just basically decided to use teleportation, which is a common locomotion in VR, and weaponize it.
That was the idea, because we just thought, okay, you have a lot of different movements we can do, and with our impossible spaces, the teleportation was really useful. But we think that this is maybe a little bit boring. What we can do with that, and just making it a weapon is like the best idea probably we have in the game. It's like we're thinking hard about this, and we have a lot of different teleportation styles in the game, because basically each weapon have its own teleport attack. So each weapon works differently, and you can have different teleportation modes basically based on your loadout. Yeah.
And that's a pretty cool feature. Just to chime in, like from playing it, I really liked, there's certain ones like it projects an aura, and if somebody's in that aura, they could get hurt when you teleport there, but you can kind of wait and see until they get into the, like, it's a little more tactical, and it's cool to change them up and see, you know, which one does what. It's a lot of fun.
Because you mentioned that these classic arena shooters, and they have really like different weapons that have like different tactics you can use with them, and that's why we also did that basically. Yeah, that's the core idea behind the arena shooters, really, to have this different loadouts. Yeah.
So just out of curiosity, when you guys were developing this game, did Doom VFR come out like during the development cycle, and did you guys get to see that and how they implemented the Telefrag kind of mechanic as well?
We did. It did come out during the development time. And
how did you guys feel about that when your whole idea was teleport fragging, and then they came along and they're like, "Hey guys, we're Bethesda. We have this idea too."
Yeah, because the Bethesda guys are like years into we're not really that. I work in the industry for maybe like 6 years now, or 7 probably. Michael too. How many years do you work?
5 years. It's just Anshar Studios.
Yeah, and there's this Bethesda and the ID software that have like years behind them, and we're really like we could be bumped down because we had this idea, we made that prototype, and then they come out with the Doom VFR. But the other way of thinking about this is like, okay, they did that. So we flattered. We're not idiots, If they did that, it's probably a good idea. Yeah,
exactly. And you guys tweaked it in a cool way, so it's definitely not the same thing as Doom VFR.
Right, it adds a lot of variety to the gameplay, which I really like, a new dynamic to it for sure, instead of just running around and shooting.
Awesome.
Yeah, so in a way, the release of Doom VFR just like made us sure that this idea was okay to begin with, because at the prototyping stage, you're not really know if it will work out, in the real game, the things you try during the prototyping.
That's interesting to hear about that kind of interplay between a game that uses kind of the same mechanics, but how you guys reacted to and developed around that, and kind of confirmed your suspicions that it was a good idea. All right, guys, for our next question, we're going to kick it over to Dorkie the Awkward. Whoop whoop. We got a little miniature wave on the left side here.
Hi guys, I want to say that Telefrag is amazing. I absolutely love the artwork, and I'm really glad I got to work on the project and got to work on the artwork in here. It was amazing. Like I was blown away, especially with Leagues Under the Sea. I do want to go back to the weapon loadout and stuff like that. Is there going to be upgrades for your weapons or like different characters you can choose from available in the game at release or later on?
Basically, about the characters, we have like two in there, so you can choose the male or the female character. And weapon loadouts are really like old school, so you can't really upgrade them. You don't have to have any like currency or XP. You just grab them and you can fight with them. And this is because we really like the idea of like level playing field. If you, no matter if you like a newbie or you like a really like experienced player, you have the same loadouts available for you. So we're really fine with that. It's really this classic experience, that everyone have the same chance to win. I don't really personally in a like competitive games. I don't like the idea that because I'm like a maybe newbie in some games and I don't have the best loadout there is. So that's why we basically made it that way.
Yeah, and we actually did look into customizable loadouts at first, but we scrapped the idea after some initial playtesting, and basically I think the game is better for it, because now you just can focus on those 5 weapons and just play with you get primary, secondary, and teleport attack. So it's just like 3 weapons in one, and you get both sort of akimbo style, 2-hand weaponry. So you basically have 6 ways of hurting your enemy at once.
Yeah, at once, and then you have like the 15 attacks overall. And really, when we were testing this idea with the customizable loadouts, we found out that to make this work, because we don't have like the big resources in our studio, and to make it work, the weapons were pretty like meh, it like wasn't bland, really that different. Yeah, they weren't really that different from each other. And at that point, we decided, no, just let's make them really fun, make them really like different from each other, and maybe less of in the terms of a number, smaller number of weapons, but more interesting, basically.
Quality, not quantity, and all that.
Yeah.
Thanks for the question, by the way.
Yeah,
I can definitely see that, and it is really fun. Like when we were playing it, it was very fast paced and it was wonderful. You felt very powerful with those 2 weapons in your hands, definitely.
That's what we were going for, so nice.
Thank you guys so much for putting a flat cannon in this game.
Yes,
it brings back so many good memories from when I was a kid.
I was having so much fun bouncing those stuff off of there. You couldn't tell where I was coming from. Yeah. I was just bouncing stuff off the walls. He's like, "What the hell's going on?" The whole time. It was
the laser that ricochets. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
And the biggest bummer with flat cannon is like when optimization came, we actually had to reduce the number of the sort of bouncy balls.
Oh, right. That's such a sad decision to have to make.
It still looks like a lot, though. It still looks like plenty.
Well, we wanted to sort of make it still look like a flurry of projectiles. And
this like if you have like enclosed space on some of the levels, it gets really crazy with the flat cannon. It's like bouncing everywhere.
You can really corner someone. So basically what we did was we took all of the staples. You have your sort of plasma rifle, plasma gun weapon, which looks like kind of like a aggressive fish, if you will, or something. And you also have the rocket launcher, which was actually, it was sort of inspired also by the Half-Life 2 rocket launcher. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you remember, guys. Like sort of you could point the cursor and the rockets would follow. And doing that with actually just like a hand motion is like way fun. And you also have like a teleport rocket. You can just bank it around the corner and just surprise your enemy. Like we took the staples and we wanted to just basically flip them and like VRize them or something. I don't know. Yeah, that's not a word, but whatever.
It is now.
All right, so I think for our next question, we're going back to Jason.
Yeah, I see that there's a cross-platform play on there. is there going to be like say you have a buddy on PC, is there going to be like an invite system, or is it just kind of like a random matchup that you guys are going for there?
Well, for the cross-platform, it's like a random matchup, but you can still invite your friends. But because we are using the basically the tools that each like platform provides, so if you have like a friend list on a PlayStation, you can invite your friends. If you have friend list on a Steam, you can invite your friends too. But we unfortunately we didn't really manage to make like the global friend list, something like that. But you can still play with the guys from Steam, from Oculus, and
it's just going to be harder to sort of.
Yeah, but you can still have this like random matchup, so you can basically play with the guys from Steam and or the Oculus.
But the invite system works basically within a single platform. So
yeah.
Only people I've seen do that is by Ubisoft with their kind of the club stuff. It's,
and they already have an existing infrastructure for having the Ubisoft account and stuff, so they didn't have to create anything new. They're just
we're just a tad smaller.
That's what I'm saying. As I understand, for you guys, it's tough because you don't have that system for like, because it's like that for Spark and for a bunch of other games.
Any other game, they don't have like the cross-platform invite system.
Basically, coming back to the idea of reducing friction, we want because this is a shooter in VR, so which is already sort of like a segmented space in terms of players. So we basically wanted to remove as much friction as possible so that everyone could play. That's why we also included bots in the game, so that even if there is no one playing, or if you don't have like a PS Plus for this month or something, you can still play with the bots, even if there are no players around.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that you don't even have to be online to play the Telefrag, because if you have like no internet connection, you can just play with the bots basically. So that was because we all wanted to really avoid the situation that you cannot play, because it's like really we don't like that. It's like.
No one likes that, right?
Yeah.
No. That's something I hear a lot about, is somebody always asking, is this online only? And that deters people from purchasing it if it requires online all the time.
Yeah, so this is by all means an online game. It was intended to be played online.
Right.
We're not like saying that it's not. But failing that, you can still have fun while offline. So we're not sort of crazy about that we don't have like a single player. But again, you have to make sacrifices because of the team size and everything. But yeah, we have the bots. And for four difficulty types, ranging from easy all the way up to the nightmare, which is sort of like a state
programmer.
Yes. Yeah.
So I think also the idea to make it a 1v1 is a really good concept for keeping player bases, or like the ease of getting a match, because a lot of VR games, they'll say, hey, you can get a 16-player match going or something like that, but then you can't get 16 people in the lobby. So a 1v1 is really quick and easy. If there's somebody else online and you're in. So that's, it's a good idea, I think.
That's basically coming back to the lack of friction we wanted to achieve. And really, in our game, I think one-on-one is frantic enough,
It is.
Really,
it certainly is.
The game is so dynamic because because a lot of like multiplayer games, if you have like bigger matches, you can't really make the game so dynamic because it will be like chaotic, but with Telefrag, it's still fast paced, and even one-on-one, I think there's a lot of going on. You can't really just chill out in. You have to be focused all the time because your enemy is waiting just for your mistakes.
Yeah, so from the point of view of level designer, is arena shooters are very based on level design in terms of level control, because you have to know when the heavy armor or the mega health will respawn, and that's especially sort of made visible in the dual game mode. So it's sort of seemed to almost fit perfectly. Like, okay, so we're going for like a 1v1 matchup, and the duel sort of lend itself to being there, and it sort of fits.
Yeah, definitely. That actually leads very well, I think, into our next question from Godcannon over there. Take it away.
Yeah, so you touched base on it's 1v1 right now, and there are the different difficulty modes. I did get some practice with the bot on hard and nightmare, and it is definitely, for those that like a challenge, it is definitely very challenging. I mean, they predict your movements and everything really well. So, but I was curious though, are there any plans, or is it possible in the future that we could see that expand to either 2v2, 3v3, or different game modes?
Well,
difficult questions. To
me. You can hide behind the chair now if you want to do that.
Probably do that. Okay. Yeah. So about that, because we really want to support the game after the release, and I can't really promise anything, but we want to get some patches out after the release. We want to support the game, and based on player feedback, we will probably make some changes. But what those changes will be, I can't really tell right now, because it really depends on the community. And we really, like with Detached, we had this early access going on, and we read a lot of stuff, what people were telling us, what they wanted the game. We made some patches after the release too. We even added like this epilogue to the Detached, and it is possible that with Telefrag we will do something like that based on the player feedback, basically. So it all comes to the player feedback and the community around the game.
Yeah.
Well, it's really great to see that the VR developers responding to the community in the way they do, and to see both working together to make sure both of us are, happy with the game, as you've spent a lot of time putting it together for us. And it's just really awesome to see. It's something that we actually see a lot in the VR community, which you don't, usually see with a lot of developers. So really awesome. I can't wait to see what kind of ideas, people come up with, and maybe they'll have some and you say, oh, that's a good idea, and hit the drawing board. So really look forward to see how that shapes the game in the future.
And we're really curious. Yeah, we're really curious what will community will just provide in terms of feedback and maybe some interesting ideas. And we're really waiting for them. Yeah.
One example of this was the fact that initially the game was sort of thought up to be played with this dash movement, sort of teleporting by small increments, but a lot of you guys requested smooth motion. And after testing it, it was sort of the obvious thing to do. It was sort of like a no-brainer. And we implemented that, and we actually saw good feedback from the community. People were actually hyped that that was included. It was wow, nice. We actually made someone happier with our product.
I am one of those people that affected how I feel about the game, because we typically, I know a lot of people have, they sort of limit, but full locomotion, smooth locomotion, all that is really important to us, and that was definitely, makes the game more enjoyable for me. And I just want to add, the control scheme you guys did with the moves actually feels really good, so good job on implementing the full locomotion system using the moves, because I know that's not easy. I know that's not easy, because so many developers have these odd button choices and stuff, and this is one of the few that actually feels really fluid and fast and really smooth.
Holy wow, that is great. Thank you.
Yeah, it was
thank you.
Thank you, because it was a really big problem for us. And coming back to the Doom VFR, we played the Doom VFR on the moves, and it was oh no, what we will do with that?
They have to play with the DualShock in the game. Really,
I did enjoy Doom VFR with the moves the most, but there was no turn buttons, and and there's no turn buttons, so you find yourself going down hallways sideways and stuff, and but this feels very good.
So that basically the Doom was one of the references when it comes to moves, and we really thought that we have to do it better, really, because
and when I played
Doom, Yeah, I hope so, at least.
Definitely. Much better.
Yeah, thank you.
So, Damian, you're getting a little excited.
It's rising. He's rising.
Cool. Okay, let me sit.
I think of what else I can say to make you start floating some more.
We get excited about the game. What?
Yeah, I said it to move a little bit.
Yeah.
All right, for our next question, we are once again going to go to Dorkie the Awkward.
Hi again. One of the things that I like about gaming is you get to play with your friends, and I was wondering what actually drove your decision to go into a multiplayer game rather than like a single player game?
Basically past experience as well. We started thinking about Telefrag from the get-go, from having a multiplayer game, basically to just have people interact with each other. I guess it just comes down to what we played, and our inspirations are multiplayer games. So it basically came pretty natural to us. And in terms also of single player and sort of making content per se, you sort of at one point, at one side, you have finite content in single player game. You always have. And in a sense, multiplayer games are also finite, but the multiplayer game, you get to sort of extend the lifetime as long as people are playing. So it also is a pretty nice sort of feedback loop between the developers and the community. And I think more so for multiplayer games than for single player games, because you're packaging a whole experience in a single player game. So like, we made this for you, here you go, just have fun. And in terms of multiplayer, it's more like a conversation. It's like, this is what we have for you. Now you tell us what you think about it. How can we improve, and what can we do about it? Like, I don't, there is no doubt that one of the first thing in patches, we're also probably going to roll out some balance changes from player feedback, because, you know, we want to make the game fun for as much people as possible.
And if I may add, because we had also the multiplayer in Detached, and Detached was mainly like designed as a single-player game, but we had so much fun as a developers in a multiplayer of Detached that we thought, you know, it's really something you have to bring into the VR, because the basically the interaction, like the Mike said, interaction with other players is really fun in VR. And well, this is the in this room we have like a lot of fun. Yes.
Yes.
Like this is a rec room, and we're like, multiplayer. Come on, guys. Yeah.
What do you mean?
Definitely does bring more of a social aspect to it. And I love that description, by the way. I've never thought of it that way. Like how a single player is more like, here, have this, and multiplayer is like, here, let's talk about this more. I like that. That was really, really good.
And for the next question, we're going to go back to Godcannon on the Telefrag couch.
Yeah, so I was wondering, are there any like tips and tricks you can share for the Telefrag VR? Any like special weapon loadouts or certain ways, combinations to give anybody a little advantage?
So the way I like to play it is usually sort of mixing types of weapons. So the way we approach weapon types is, as with many first-person shooters, you basically have two types of weapons. You have projectile-based, and then you have like hit scan tracking weapons. So the way I like to mix it up is usually get one thing that is projectile-based and one thing that is hit scan, so that I have like a versatile system. But then it comes down to preference. Sometimes if I just want to have fun, I take two plasma cannons and just shoot them until they overheat. But sometimes I would come with the ricocheting laser pistol, sort of turn invisible, which is the special teleport, telefrag mode of this weapon. Sort of turn invisible, set an ambush, hit like a high damage shot, come out of the invisibility and then finish off with the flak cannon or something like that. So it comes down to preference, but fortunately, you can get creative with this. And basically, if you have the mileage, you're going to come up with different strategies for different maps. Some maps are better for like shooting around the corners with the flak cannon. Some maps are better for rocket launcher and for like curving the rockets around. For example, the Six Leagues Under, where the underground sort of level lends itself more towards lightning gun. So the particle cannon, sorry. But yeah, basically try to keep an eye out for the armor and health pickups, because those recharge after a set amount of time. There is like an image that sort of loads, and once it loads, you have the response pickup. Then you can grab it. So keep control of the map, and in terms of weapons, just it's down to preference. But also some maps favor some playstyles. It's like a whole can of worms.
Yeah, if I may add about the map control, because I played with Mike a lot. Mike played probably more than me, but
I did some work as well, right, guys?
Yeah. But what I wanted to tell, because we played a lot together, and even when designing the game together, and we know about the map control, but I often tend to forget about the map control and just go at it, and then Mike will kick my ass because I didn't really took notice of all the pickups around. Yeah,
exactly. Well, and yeah, don't be afraid to back out of the battle if you don't have the health or armor to sort of carry through, or if you see your weapon is overheating, just hit it, just run for it. Because there will be a chance to collect the pickup once it respawns. So basically, it's like a cat and mouse, chipping away at enemies' health. And if you get into a clinch, sort of, and you just duke it out until you die, usually the player with more health and more armors wins. So yeah.
Excellent. Yeah, that's from what I've played. I 100% agree with you. I thought I was invincible with the flat cannon and the rocket launcher until Liv discovered the invisibility, and I had no idea. And so we'd be chasing each other around for quite some time. And yeah,
I'd be sneaking up and fragging you. It was great. Yeah.
And then also with the Telefrag as well. The Telefrag gives you a great advantage for going against bullets and stuff, because you can just zip and have them right away.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think what you were mentioning too about the pickups and stuff, the cool thing about working with like an established kind of genre or framework or stuff that we're familiar with, like Quake and Unreal and Doom and stuff, we don't need a tutorial for that. Like, we'll get in the game and you look at that and you say, I know exactly what that is. I know how I need to use that. So that's a as far as reducing friction, like you were talking about.
Yeah,
that's a really,
exactly. Although there is a tutorial as well, a 3-part tutorial.
Oh, no, I'm not saying there isn't one. I'm just saying you don't even need one for that, because you're like, I know what that thing is.
Yeah. That's awesome.
And I think we've got one more question from Jason over here. Take it away, Jason.
Yeah. Are you guys planning on adding any pro support to the game by any chance?
Well, yeah, we were really thinking hard about that, and we said a couple of times that we have limited resources, but we managed to do some work on that. And like I told before, some features may come in the patches, and we're working on them right now. But with all the certifications and stuff, we don't really know if we will manage to get it day one, maybe day 2, or in the first week of the release, somewhere around that. And for the pro support, we want to make the shaders a little bit better, maybe update some of the effects in game, stuff like that. Basically, make it maybe more crisp for the players. So we are planning on that. I can guarantee it will be day one. Yeah, that's basically what
so you heard it here first.
Yeah, and because this is something we started on working not really long ago, and we want to get it out there, and we want to support the game after the release with that kind of stuff.
All right, well, I think that's going to wrap it up for us, guys. Thanks again for joining us today. It's been a lot of fun having you guys here. We've heard a lot of cool stuff about the game. It's cool hearing about the behind the scenes and the inspirations and what's planned for the future. So really appreciate that. And thank you, as always, to everybody in the audience here and everybody who helped put together this incredible room, which I believe at some point in the future will be public for people to come hang out in, right?
Yes.
I want to live here.
We're all now about this.
Yeah. Well, like I said, it'll be open for you anytime.
That's the case. So before we wrap up, just real quick, if people want to find you guys on social media, where should they go take a look to keep up with all the new updates and everything from Telefrag and Anshar?
Well, if they're looking for a Telefrag, just type Telefrag in the Instagram, Twitter, or Facebook. You will probably find us that way.
And
Telefrag VR.
Yeah, exactly. And for general Anshar Studio news, just type Anshar Studios, which is ANSHAR. I think I got that right. Studios and Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, what have you. Yeah. Would love to have you here, there, basically.
Yeah, and we're really waiting for feedback.
And basically we also have a Discord server for Telefrag VR and would love to have you there. Give us your feedback. Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you guys so much for being on the show. Once again, big shout out to everybody who put this together. And thanks to you guys out there watching for joining us. And look forward to Telefrag in North America and Europe, $24.99 on July 19th, 2019.
Let's go.
It's coming soon. Next week, guys.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Let's get to Fraggin.
Let's get to Fraggin.